Students at the TVET School of Sustainable Agriculture and Culinary Arts presented Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre with fresh produce and agro-processed products grown and prepared by the students themselves. The gesture reflected Prime Minister Pierre's Eat What You Grow and Grow What You Eat philosophy, while highlighting the growing impact of TVET education in St. Lucia. TVET coordinator at the school, Ms. Bispak, says the program is becoming increasingly relevant as countries around the world continue to face growing food security concerns linked to global instability and climate pressures.
Fast-growing world that we're in, a lot of focus has to really be on these hard skills that people can actually go in and do practical things. And so, at one of the schools where we're at, we are really trying to get people to, our students in fact, to really buy into agriculture, because without agriculture we can't eat. And then agriculture now leads to the other area that we do, which is culinary arts. And we're trying to fuse both of them and utilize what we have on the farm so that we can feed the nation, because who knows, especially with what's happening in the world these days, we really have to, as we say, grow what we eat and eat what we grow.
The presentation included an assortment of vegetables and agro-processed items developed through practical classroom and field training. The initiative also highlighted the growing role of TVET education in equipping students with practical and industry-ready skills for the future.
This was given to the Prime Minister to show appreciation for his generous contributions to our agro-processing expo that we had at Blue Coral Mall. His instrumental act was very beneficial to us to showcase our skills that we are currently developing and our potential of the industry.
Prime Minister Pierre praised the students, teachers, and the Ministry of Education for continuing to strengthen the national TVET program and encourage greater local production.
And to thank the people who have taken on the ideological shift into vocational education. We hope that it will go from strength to strength. I want to thank the teachers again and the principal and the Ministry of Education for moving forward as we continue our vision of growing what you eat and eating what you grow.
Students also expressed appreciation to Prime Minister Pierre and the government for continuing to expand opportunities through TVET education. Yeah. Today's your birthday? You ready to go? Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press. We thank you for joining us here once more for this Monday's pre-cabinet press briefing. Our first presenter is the Prime Minister himself, Honorable Philip J. Pierre. He is also the Minister for Finance, Constituency Development, People Empowerment, Justice, and National Security. Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Press Secretary. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press.
just want to remind you that today is the 1st of June and it's the start of the hurricane season. It's also the start of a weather phenomenon called El Nino. El Nino. And that we expect that I think there are 14 named storms this season, and it is the forecast says that because of that weather pattern, there may be a little variance in terms of the intensity of the storms. But as you know, we cannot predict that. We're not predicting that one storm can create damage that can put the country back 100 years. So I just want to implore the public of St. Lucia to begin making all the necessary precautions for the hurricane season. Begin taking all the necessary steps. Trees, in terms of overhanging trees, the cleaning of drains, the measure of infrastructure will commence very shortly. The program for the desilting of rivers and the clearing of drains. So I want the public to take heed. I want to implore them again to stop dumping garbage in the waterways. Because as Bob Marley says, when the rain falls, it falls and it doesn't fall on one man's house. So take the necessary precautions in terms of the hurricane season. 1st of June to November, so let's keep our fingers crossed. Let's hope and pray for the best. I'll be calling a meeting of NEMAC before in the next 2 weeks. We will call it Airboy together to consolidate the plans for the hurricane season. I know the NEMO has been meeting. NEMO has been alerting all the different agencies. So we are getting ready, but we hoping and praying for the best. Secondly, I want to announce that the retail price of gasoline is going to be increased from today. This is basically due to what's happening in the international world. During the 3-week period, May 14th to 24th, crude oil prices for the U.S. benchmark WTI prices increased by 5.5% to an average of $100.72, or EC $273.64 per barrel. This increase in oil prices was due mainly to factors beyond our control. These include continued closure of the Strait of Hormuz related to the U.S. Navy blockade of Iran ports, a fading hope of a lasting ceasefire between Iran and the U.S., and the slow progress and doubts about a peace deal between the U.S. and Iran. That was between May 4th to May 24th. And there are continuous strikes happening, so prospects of peace during that period were very dim. Under the existing scenario, which will start from the 1st of June, the prices of the retail prices for products will be as follows. Gasoline, $16.75 per imperial gallon, which is $1.20 below the historical high of $17.95 in the year 2022. The retail price of kerosene will be $10.41. And the retail price for both the 20 pounds and 22 pound cylinders of gas of LPG will remain unchanged at $34 for the 20 pounds and $38 for the 22 pounds. The subsidies on these two LPG products will be $35.46 on the 20 pound cylinder and $38.41 on the 22-pound cylinder. So that means if the government did not subsidize LPG gas, the price of a 20-pound cylinder would be $69.46. That would be the price of a 20-pound cylinder if the government did not subsidize it by $35.46. And the government did not subsidize the 22-pound cylinder, the price of the 22-pound cylinder would be $69.41. The price of the 100-pound cylinder will remain the same for the period. And even though it remains the same, the subsidies on the 100-pound cylinder is $58.82 per cylinder. These are the subsidies on the 100-pound cylinder. Based on the negative excise tax rate of 86 cents per imperial gallon on gasoline, that means the government is losing 86 cents on every gallon of gas that's sold. There's a negative excise duty. We have to pay the dealer 86 cents on every gallon of gas that's sold. $101.21 on every imperial gallon of diesel. The subsidy for the 3 weeks is expected to be $1.2 million on these two products only. And this is $7.2 million below the budgeted levels for the period 2026-2027. It's $7.2 million less than what we budgeted up to now for the year 2026-2027. For 2026-2027 so far, the excise tax revenue collections from gasoline and diesel are expected to be $10.2 million below the budgeted period 2026-27 by $23.5 million. We budgeted $23.5 million. We expected to collect $10.2 million. So we are below budget. The subsidy for LPG products amounts to $6.5 million, which is $3.9 million above the amount budgeted for the period. As you know, we always budget LPG gas, but this year the budget is going to be $6.9 million above what we budgeted for. So this is the situation, but I want to assure the public of St. Lucia that as soon as there is any change in the international situation, the consumer will feel it, will feel it locally. We're going to, as soon as there's any change, we're going to effect the change locally. So the price of gasoline will go up by 75 cents to $16.75. The price of diesel will be up to $16.75 also. The price of diesel will go up by 75 cents. Price of LPG 20-pound cylinder will remain the same, and the price of bulk gas will also remain the same. But all of them are being subsidized. And in terms of gas, there's a negative excise tax. So you have to pay the gas dealer for every gallon of gas that is bought. So when you buy a gallon of gas, you have to pay the gas dealer 86 cents. That's the situation. All of it not way beyond our control, and we hope that as soon as things get better, the consumer is going to get the benefit, if any. And I want to also tell you that we are continuing the VAT removal on building materials. As you know, that was supposed to end on the 31st of May. Government, despite or in spite of the loss of revenue as relates to gas products, the government will continue to subsidize the remove the VAT on building materials, and the plans in the budget up to now are going to continue. We see no changes yet in the plans in the budget. So we're going to continue to pay we'll pay the five CXC subjects as we promised, and all what we promised in the budget up to now, we see no reason why it should be changing. But we are under tremendous revenue pressure as far as gas products are concerned. But we do not think there'll be any change in what the public was promised in my budget of April this year. Any questions?
Yeah, just one. Before I get into my question, just to clarify, you said both the retail price of gasoline and this diesel is expected to go up by 75 cents each?
Both of them 6.75.
Okay. I guess, how are we approaching these changes in the market? Is it a wait and see approach, or based on?
Basically, wait and see based on the price of fuel in the national market, and we take the subsidy locally. So what we do, we have to pay the supplier, right? So what if the government absorbs it? So in that case, we have to pay every gallon of gas that's sold. We have to pay the supplier. It's a negative excise tax.
So based on the trends, do you foresee more increases, or?
That's a problem that I lose sleep over. But that's what we are doing.
Yeah.
Unless, because as you know, the price gas costs $17.92 already. Remember that? At some point, it has to be shared. Right now it's 16.75, but we are trying our best, and I can assure the public of St. Lucia that we will do all in our efforts to cushion these prices.
So, just broadening the scope of the economic pressures, you've mentioned the people of St. Lucia, but in the past few months, the people would have come under a lot of economic pressures that they wouldn't have expected, in terms of imported inflation, fuel surcharge being reflected in the bills. There's talks of possible new rates for Wasco. Now you see the increases at the pumps. From a consumer's perspective, that's quite a lot to deal with, Prime Minister.
Yes, we are, and I have to agree. But the government is doing its part. We are continuing to remove VAT. We're leaving the VAT off on business material, on building materials. That means we hope that the building continues. We can still continue to subsidize LPG and cooking gas. As I used to be $69 a day, 22-pound cylinder. We continue to subsidize that, and the government's projects are continuing. In terms of the electricity surcharge, that I know it's a crime, it's a very, very, very touching subject. It's, these certain things have historical context. We don't want to go back into the historical context because that's not something you want to go to know. All of you know the history as it was to the company, the rate of return, etc. We're going to be having some discussions with Lucia on that matter, some further discussions. I cannot tell you where the discussions will go, but we're going to have some discussions on Lucia on that matter. But that situation is, you can't blame. I don't think Lucia, choose my words properly, I don't think Lucia got up this morning and decided that the consumer is going to be made to suffer. I don't think that is Lucia's profile. Nor is the government happy that the cost of electricity is going up. It is due to factors beyond our control and due to the economic relationship that Lucia has with the government of St. Lucia. That was way before my time. In other countries, people pay VAT on electricity, and we seem to forget that. We do not pay VAT on electricity. You may hear, and again, it's convenient for people to say, this country did that, this country did that. But the important thing that you must always ask yourself, or tell yourself, we do not pay VAT on electricity. So we can't remove the VAT. We pay a service charge on the price of fuel, not a VAT. So I just want to inform the public of St. Lucia that they have to remember that you don't pay VAT on electricity. So there's not much flexibility. Like in building materials, we can remove the VAT and the government takes the revenue loss. In some of the food products, we did supermarkets, we removed the VAT. Government will take the revenue loss, but there's no loss in electricity. But we're going to have discussions with Lucia because we understand the pain. We understand the pain for the country. We understand the pain. But you're going to have to discussions with Lucia as far as that's concerned.
Looking at imported inflation, I know you've spoken about that in terms of the limits of what we can do, and also in certain instances, government is already foregoing revenue. But Barbados had an interesting economic policy where they capped I think how they calculate the CIF.
Yes. Let's also understand Barbados' rate of VAT.
Yeah.
You see, in all doing these things, but look at the rate of VAT. St. Lucia's VAT is one of the lowest, 12.5%. I think these are some of the countries about is 17%, 19%. So you must, when you're looking at these variables, you must never forget the VAT rate. Never forget that. But I know Barbados, I'm speaking to Prime Minister Miyamoti about it. What they've done is that they've taken the CIF. They don't pay, they reduce like the freight. Supposing they say no container, the freight should not be more than X amount of dollars. It's part of the cost. So it's not CIF, it's freight. Right? Look at it. I tell you something. Our government is looking, has looked, and will continue to look at any measures we can take to reduce the cost of living and limit the burden on the people of St. Lucia. That's our history. That's what we're all about. This is why I've said to the vendors, as soon as we have the proper scenario, as soon as we know the figures, we are going to give them some income support. The government is going to do that. That is our pledge. That's what we're all about. We understand that some vendors may not be paying their rent. We understand that. We think they should. But it's not our government's policy not to assist workers when we can and when they're when they're in distress. Not our government's policy. But you may see there's a cost of development. Look, if you look across the road, you see the vendors' arcade has been cleared. You can see it for yourself. So they weren't displaced for no reason. They were displaced for better conditions. These conditions are improving. Construction is going to start shortly or even now. But in the meantime, the government will give them some form of income support. But I want to tell them that they must pay their rent because it's a business. But we're going to give them some form of income support.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Prime Minister.
Good afternoon.
I know you touched on the cost of electricity a bit, and you said when referencing other measures when referencing measures.
Always remember VAT.
It can be convenient, right?
Always remember VAT. Always remember VAT. Yes.
Grenada's government announced a cost reduction in electricity for lower income households. In what ways is our government aiming to keep electricity bills low, if any?
I told you a few seconds ago that we have to look at the VAT rate, and secondly, again, when we're looking at these scenarios, you have to look at what rate do they pay now. There's a differential now in terms of the rates that are paid in St. Lucia. we have to look at these things first of all, let me reiterate that I will do anything I can to reduce the cost of living or the cost of fuel or the cost of electricity for the people of St. Lucia. We'll do anything we can. But in terms of when we are speaking about what other countries are doing, we must look at the final details. In St. Lucia, there's a differential rate between what you consume, right? If you consume below a certain number of kilowatts, you pay different to somebody who has a higher level of kilowatts. So let's look at all of that. But I'll say to you, we're going to be talking to Lucia to see what we can do. But I can't tell you definitively what will happen, but you're going to be talking to Lucia based on what is happening as far as the price of fuel is concerned. But we must look at all the details. When you talk about other islands, we have to look at all the details, including the fact that there is no VAT on electricity in St. Lucia.
On the nationally sore topic of crime, the UWP last week.
The who?
UWP.
Okay. That's a political party, right?
It's a political party. Last week had a press conference and spoke to the issue of the increasing numbers in terms of murders, and placed blame squarely on the shoulders of the administration, current administration, suggesting that it was not necessarily an issue of the equipment being given to police and the justice system, but rather I suppose the methods of the current administration that actually has not assisted with curtailing the issue of crime.
Okay. Ryan, you're a very logical guy. I'm sorry Arsenal lost.
Well, that's nothing to do.
Okay, I'm very sorry. I just wanted to commensurate with you. Okay? Okay. Let's take what you said to its natural conclusion. Right? You're a rational guy. Everybody in this room is rational. If crime is due to the current administration, when the UWP was in power, they ought to have no crime. They ought to have no murders. They ought to have nothing. Let's go through it slowly again. Let's take it to its natural thought processes. And I'm quoting you because I didn't listen. Let's go through it slowly for everyone to hear. If the crime in this country is because of the current administration, when the United Workers' Party were in power, they ought to have no crime. Is that right? No, is that logic?
I understand your thinking.
No, is that not logical?
I think.
Fine, good. So having said so, the United Workers' Party's arguments are mundane. They're almost disrespectful to the people of St. Lucia. Almost disrespectful. It shows a lack of respect to the people of St. Lucia. When you speak about crimes of passion and crimes of emotion, and you lay it on the hands, on the backs of a government, it is disrespectful, it's scornful, it's contemptuous. That is what the United Workers' Party does to the people of St. Lucia. They have no regard for them. Understand? And now let's be serious now. We made the point that one crime is too much. We've also made the point that in analyzing crime, we have to look at many reasons. This is why we've taken a holistic view to the crime situation in St. Lucia. We've also taken the position that crime must be tackled at several levels. One, enforcement, and this is why we've done what we have to do with the police force, and we continue. Very shortly, we're going to make some new announcements as it relates to the police force. One. Two, social interventions. We continue. The most recent intervention that we're going to put into effect is the idea of truancy. Children are not going to school. We're going to have a big onslaught on truancy. The third is education. In terms of TVET education, to encourage young men to go to school to learn what they like to do. We've said so. We've said that we believe that the education system must cater for a variety of people, for different talents. We've said so. Fourthly, we've said young people with an economic mission who have a business plan through the youth economy, we're going to get them a start. Almost 2,000 young people have benefited from that and is expanding now. Fifthly, we've said that we're going to deal with early childhood education, where every child in this country will have an opportunity in the next 2 or 3 years to go to an early childhood education institute. We've started already, we're continuing. We're going to continue helping them with a stipend for them, which before the new school year, they're going to get in the stipend. You heard from the Minister of Education that the curriculum is being worked on. Right? Fifthly, we've said that we're going to deal with emotional support. This is why SSDF, all these programs to give emotional support to them. This is what we said. We've also said that we're calling on anyone, not mundane, sterile criticism of the United Locust Party. We're calling on anyone who has tangible plans that we can sit and decide on. Let's talk about it. So I refuse to respond to illogical political. I want to say what else I want to say.
Just pressing it a little bit. Permit me again to reference Leo Titus Preble at that same press conference, suggesting that one of the origins, or if you will, those areas that promote crime has something to do with politicians. And politicians, as an example, he suggested that we're buying votes. And so I think he spoke generally about all politicians. Your response?
Which politician was caught selling votes or buying votes? When he answers that question, we did the whole issue. Very simple. You see, the problem with these guys, they think people forget. If you tell me who was caught buying votes, we can have discussion, continue discussion. Agreed? Who was caught? Which politician was caught with thousands of dollars in his hand, in his car? Which one? If you answer that question for me, we continue all the discussion about buying votes. Agreed?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Next.
Good afternoon, Mr. Prime Minister. Just a little extension on crime. I know that as well, you said that crime situation is not just in St. Lucia, it's also around the Caribbean where crime is a huge problem. I'm not sure if you made aware that over the past weekend there was a Lucian who unfortunately got shot in Martinique.
Why? I never heard that.
Yeah, so I'm not even sure if you've been aware of this, where any response, any statement on that.
Again, unfortunate, very unfortunate. Condolences to the relatives and friends of the. Very unfortunate. You know, no one is happy. You know, when somebody loses their life, no one is happy. No one is happy. It's not something that you have to rejoice on. It's not something that you have to try to make political mileage on. It's a serious circumstance. It's a serious situation. Very serious situation. And we understand that. And we're going to do all we can to do it. But what is distasteful is when rejected politicians try to use that platform to seek votes that they have not got, they did not get, and they may not get. It is very, very distasteful. You understand? And that is why that's why you see I have to respond in that way. When rejected politicians try to use crime to get votes, get votes that they did not get, to get votes they most likely will not get. This is what is distasteful. What you're looking for is, let's talk about, and you can blame an administration or a prime minister for a man committing a crime of passion. In what world is that possible? This is distasteful. And I haven't spoken about it, I'm going to do it now. It's distasteful. It's political opportunism at its lowest for a set of people who were rejected at the polls in the polls of December. And I make no bones about it. I may get criticized for it. It is distasteful. These people were rejected. The public of St. Lucia spoke their minds. And no matter what happens now, fact is that the people of St. Lucia spoke their minds, and the government is doing whatever. My national security budget is the highest that's ever been in the history of St. Lucia. We have more policemen in the police force, men and women in the police force now. We have more in training than any time in St. Lucia's history. But so it's not something that we are just happy about. We're not happy about it. The United Workers' Party funded the police by having dances. That's how they funded the police, by having balls and dances and having ministers to try to be ill models. That's how they funded the police. The United Workers' Party seems to have forgotten their history. I'm not even being political. I'm being factual. They seem to have forgotten their history. They funded the police by having balls and dinners. That's how they funded the police, to buy equipment for the police station. And I'm not annoyed. Don't think I'm annoyed. I'm just saying the facts forcefully. That's these guys' history. That's the history. They don't come along because there's an unfortunate situation of people of an uptick of murders in this country that you can believe you can ride on that bandwagon to get back in the good graces of the solution electorate. The solution electorate spoke their minds the 1st of December. Foolishness about elections were bought. Elections were bought 6 months after. You understand? So I'm the Prime Minister, but I'm also a politician, and I have to defend the honor of the party that I represent. And I'm tired of this questions.
Shifting away from crime in the United States.
And I'm not annoyed, and I want to tell you that I was in opposition. I agree with the right to criticize. I was in opposition. I was there. I wasn't treated how we treat them, but I was there. So I understand that. I understand the right to oppose. But it's unfortunate to get emotional situations where people are in an emotional upheaval because of the unfortunate death of a 23-year-old woman to try to cloud that around UWP labor. That's just my issue. Sorry.
Yeah, you touched on it earlier with regards to the hurricane season. And I think last year we would have been largely spared from any sort of calamity or anything like that. But just because of the potential disaster that this period brings to those in the region, what sort of message would you like to leave with St. Lucians in terms of their own personal responsibility, or in terms of taking this period as seriously as it should be taken?
My first one, begin to harvest water. That's my first one. Begin to harvest water. Number 2, take all necessary precautions. Listen to the advice of Nemo. Have your own family hurricane plan. Number 3, the little things you can do. Overhanging branches on your house. Galvanize, going up there and getting some of them, ensuring that they are secured by just a few nails. Now these are simplistic, but there are things that we can do. You understand? Clearing the drains in front of your home. And do not take this thing as a rumor mongering thing. Don't take it as if it's a joke. It's serious stuff. Only listen to advice from Nemo and look out for yourself and look out for your neighbor. Have your own hurricane plan. Make sure you have your own hurricane plan, because we never know. And again, a situation where everyone will suffer if there's a hurricane. Okay. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good week. And hopefully that the weather, you notice there's a lot of dust these days, the Sahara dust, and people have to take precautions, especially those with issues with asthma, etc. Yeah, take precautions. And by the way, finally, there's a good friend of ours, a barber called Kolede, who passed away. Kolede, who passed away. Condolences to his family on his sudden death. Thank you. Bye-bye.
When I heard about the MSME, I was like, boom, opportunity. I called my wife and I said, babes, you know, I got it. I got the loan grant. I want to get this. I'm going to get that, and we're going to start doing this. And okay, so my name is Kevin Marshall from River Meter Moshi, and I've established a small business, KGM Custom Gifts, Crafts and Events. My 3 daughters, what I noticed year after year, there was always this need to complete a project, sometimes more than one project within a month, and the projects were always something that you had to do physically with your hand. And I would go online, search at these crafts, and I would try to do what I saw in the craft, and then I realized that it's something that, you know, is actually a business. I was like, why can't I tap into that market? So first I tried to do this business on my own, I mean, with limited funds, and you know, it started, and then I realized that you really need access to funds to really get this where it needs to be. I tried to go to the banks, on what they were giving was not on par with having other financial obligations, so it was kind of difficult to actually obtain additional funding. When I heard about the MSME, I was like, boom, opportunity. I could make something actually happen, you know. I could make this dream actually reality, so let's go for it. I got a new heat press, new printers, I got new paraphernalias, I got stock, so I could have stock on hand instead of actually going out and trying to purchase on demand. So I tried to get everything needed so I could start business as soon as it kicked in. I think that's the greatest opportunity someone who's starting out, especially for the startups, can hope for. It's very difficult, I find, to start out on your own and to try to do business on your own. With the loan grant, the opportunity that came with getting the equipment and getting to jump off on the bat. I always try to show the children that you could, you know, aspire to be anything you want to be. And I think that whatever dream they have, follow it, aspire to be it, and don't give up.
First of all, let me just say, Prime Minister, we did it. We did it.
"16 years ago, in the early hours of September 9, 2009, a fire ravaged through St. Jude. 3 of our own, Menas Vigi, Claudia Sudin, and Joseph Jabatis, lost their lives. 3 souls whose memory we honor today. It is about the duty we owe one another, the shared promise that no St. Lucian in any corner of our island will ever be abandoned in this moment of need. Today, we stand on sacred ground, a place that tested our faith and our patience, and now a place reborn and rebuilt through perseverance, unity, and love of country. The conscience of this government, my government, could not allow this situation to continue. This new St. Jude Hospital is not just a building, it's a promise fulfilled. It's a modern, safe, and equipped to serve the needs of a growing nation. But beyond the bricks and technology, what stands before us is a symbol of what happens when government puts people first. So it's a feeling of gratitude, a feeling of love for the people of Beaufort and the people of St. Lucia. I want to thank those who were on the committee, led by, I think, John Peters and other members who were under tremendous pressure for writing the truth. And all the contractors who worked before, and all the contractors who will continue to work. Thank you very much. Let this day remind us that government is at its best when it listens, when it serves, and when it keeps its word. Let us remind us that no community, no constituency, no person should ever be left behind. I end with gratitude and thanks, and for quotation from Desmond Tutu. Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all the darkness. I thank you.
Today's contract signing marks the continuation of the Northern Pipeline project. For this significant national investment, we are finally rehabilitating the severely corroded transmission line. We must embrace life. So protecting the lifeblood of St. Lucia is exactly why we are gathered here this morning. For decades, the arteries of our national water network have been under immense pressure. When we look at the Northern Pipeline, we are looking at infrastructure that was installed over 40 years ago, laid down in an incredibly aggressive environment. The data speaks for itself. 43 to 50% thereabouts of our water is non-revenue. That is nearly half of the water we painstakingly produce that is bleeding into the ground through these aging pipes before it ever reaches a single tap.
For the last 12 months, the government has invested $1.2 million in Wasco every month. Something not known by many people. And incidentally, these funds have come from the CIP program. And I can possibly say it's the first time that any government has paid up its Wasco's bills. In fact, we've paid these bills sometimes in advance. So I want to say to Wasco, we are watching you, we're keeping a close eye on you, because as I said before, in fire analysis, we are the ones who will be.
I now present our final presenter, Honorable Kenson Kazime, who is the Minister for Education, Youth Development, Sports, and Digital Transformation. Also the MP for Grosley. Honorable Kazime will update us on Grand Riviera Jazz, which took place yesterday, and a few updates in sports. Honorable.
Thank you very much. Well, good morning, everybody. Just a couple of updates, sports in St. Lucia, and of course, my constituency. For those of you who do not know, Julian Alfred, she will be competing this Thursday, 4th June 2026. She'll be competing in the Diamond League. She's going up against some big guns, Melissa Jefferson Wooden, Asha Smith as well. So we're expecting this thing to be highly competitive. She will be, you can view it live on Rush at 4:27 p.m. I'm giving you all the exact time because the way the World Athletics goes, if you're not there, if you're a minute late, you might miss the race. I think she's in very good spirits. She's been trying her best to continue to represent St. Lucia at the highest level. In cricket, Zeta James, Kiana Joseph, they have been named on the West Indies World Cup team ahead of the ICC Cricket World Cup. We are exceedingly proud of these two individuals. They've been working exceedingly hard to continue to represent St. Lucia in the sport of cricket. And I mean, if you follow the life of Zeta and her accomplishments, you could really see an individual that has been very, very determined, very, very disciplined, very, very well put together as an athlete. You could see physically, mentally, a lot of work. I have to say kudos to her family for the level of support they give to her. And of course, she's been participating in grassroots development programs early on, and of course, continuing to punch above her weight. We're expecting for her to get some opportunities. And of course, Kiana Joseph, she is really like a staple on the team now as a left-handed bowler and batter, doing some very good work, and we expect for her to be named in that first 11 moving forward for the West Indies female team. Black Hat football continues locally. We are now getting towards the business end. We had some games over the weekend in Viewfort, and of course last night at the Soufrière Mini Stadium, a bumper crowd at the Soufrière Mini Stadium last night. We saw Canaries getting the better of Roseau, 1-0. Canaries, a community that is known for producing some top-class footballers. Number of football players on the female national team originate from Canaries, so they have been doing very well at that under-20 level. If you study Roseau and Canaries, Roseau edged past Canaries in the zonal under-20 competition. Canaries coming back and exacting some revenge on them. And last night we also saw Soufrière. Soufrière is one of the tournament favorites. Of course, Soufrière, the likes of Grosley and the Cleary, are perhaps the three best communities at the under-20 level. We're expecting a lot from them. They got the better of Ancillary last night, 4-0. The action continues this weekend at the Soufrière Mini Stadium. We're expecting some quarterfinal matchups this weekend, and then after the semifinals and finals at the Francis Lastic Grounds in Grosley. In the constituency of Grosley, we've completed a number of projects. Some are at 99%. I can say to you the Viesikwi Norbe Link Road into Moshi, Kawef to be specific, is nearing completion. We want to commend Reno Gojada and his team for the expedited nature in which they executed this job. The road looks very good. It is on schedule, actually, in terms of its completion. A very good work done, about 98, 99% complete in terms of that road. Monjuro, Rejri Monjuro Link Road, that has also been completed. And if you go, we will be providing some visuals very soon on our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok page on the nature of this road. This road pretty much allows for motorability of probably about 100 or so homes in that community, and so a lot of relief, an option for drivers who are going through the Monjuro area, the Morissette area, to come through that road behind Volney gas station. A very big project that I'm very, very proud of. So that road is complete. We are also on the what I call the Pringle Road. a popular musician from St. Lucia who lives in that Corinth area. The road linking those communities has been almost complete. I would say about 98% complete. Very good work done in that particular area. I will say that Grosley is a constituency that there's an absolute glut for infrastructural programs, for road development, for retaining walls, for all sorts of infrastructural interventions. And I will tell the people of Grosley that we are ticking off the boxes day by day. We just simply cannot do all at once. But we've been working assiduously from July 2021 to ensure that we give Grosley burgeoning constituency as much attention as possible when it comes to their infrastructure. And so you've seen some work being done on Flamboyant Drive, a road that I'm very, very concerned about, that we need a brand new road for, and I'll continue to lobby for that. And you would see a number of roads being developed in the constituency of Grosley. That being said, today is June 1st, and we will be starting our pre-hurricane season. Well, we submitted it pre-hurricane season, our program for interventions in the constituency in terms of drains, in terms of culverts, blocked culverts. You will be seeing a comprehensive program in the constituency of Grosley. Again, Grand Riviere, Asso Canal, Rivière Mita, Morschi, and all of those rivers, we will be doing some desilting. So we ask the community to be aware and to provide that level of support for this. Socially, we hosted yesterday Grand Riviere Jazz. I prefer the name Grand Riviere Jazz. I came here previously and we had conversations about Morschi Jazz not being established this year, and I was asked by you, the media, whether or not there would be a Grand Riviere Jazz. And to be very honest, at that time, I had not been made aware that the Grand Riviere Development Committee, and you want to encourage committees to take their space and to do what they feel is best in the community. They came together and they were in the process of planning this Grand Riviere Jazz activity, which is pretty much post the normal jazz activities. But I will say one thing, they came together. I did say to them that it was a very difficult time in terms of getting sponsorship and finances. They were determined and they put all the efforts together, and they were able to have this very, very comprehensive, very well attended. I did pass there yesterday. I was very impressed with the setup. The committee, along with other members from the community, they came together and they did a fantabulous job in hosting this event. So congratulations to the community of Grand Riviere. And as I said in times past, we will be coming back with Morschi Jazz next year. We've already started a conversation on ensuring that we get as much sponsorship as possible to host a very, very good Morschi Music Creole next year. And by virtue of the fact that we were able to host this Grand Riviere Jazz, it will be also a fixture done at an even higher level come next year jazz season. Thank you very much. Questions?
Yeah. One or two. SPL, I would have spoken to a few cricketers throughout those games, and this is in relation to the Barbalastic grounds. A lot of the cricketers have the opinion that they need a few more Barbalastic grounds-esque facilities around the country. I think naming when as a potential area, someplace in Viewfort, and then also Choiseul playing field. What they're saying is that although they're saying the rehabilitation efforts happening at the various fields, they just feel as a proper venue could assist not only the production, the play, and stuff like that. What say you to those recommendations coming out of those cricketers?
Very fair requests, very, very fair requests. And as I said, one of the first things we did as a government was we passed a field development and maintenance policy where we actually identified the playing fields around the island, and we placed them into various categories, whether they were A standard, B standard, C standard, D standard playing fields. So the MPs are very well aware of what standard of playing facility they have in their community. For instance, I inherited Grosley as a D standard playing field, and the works that we've done over the years in Grosley has placed it now at a B standard, between C and B standard, and then obviously from my constituency development program, you will see some works being done on the perimeter in certain areas to bring it up to that B standard. And of course, A standard facilities, the likes of Darren Sammy Stadium, which is the only A standard facility we have now until we re-establish the George Odlum Stadium. That being said, I've said to everybody that we cannot just go ahead and just, snap a finger and then all facilities look like Grosley. But for sure, when playing field, you would see continual work at the when playing field from next month in terms of the perimeter wall. We have a full plan and design for the when playing field, and so we should expect by next year to see when playing field, perhaps not at Grosley standard as yet, but as the years go by, really making it up to that level. The Choiseul playing field is also down for that level of intervention on the West Coast. And we've spoken at length, ad nauseum, about the Philip Masley grounds. This is really going to be a ground getting the attention this year to ensure that we can host those activities. So essentially, we will be having 2 playing facilities on the East Coast. We are very, very close to completing the Larissus playing field. We were missing the installation of 2 lights. We've already cordoned off that area, and it has stands. So Larissus playing field, by standard, would be very similar to Grosley playing field. And then, of course, we'll be doing the Wen playing field on that East Coast. And then, obviously, on the West Coast, we have the Soufriere playing field, but we are looking for the mini stadium. We have identified an area that we may just compulsory acquire to establish a cricket grounds in that area. But the main facility would be not the Ply playing field, the name escapes me right now, but that facility in Choiseul, we will be ensuring that we give it that level of attention. So we are hoping that by next SPL, that we have 4 facilities that are available, and of course we have to do the work on the surfaces to ensure that they are up to standard.
My other question, this sort of maybe broke think about the prospects of us hosting Carifta Aquatics next year, but unfortunately our bid had to be
Postponed,
rescinded, whatever word you want to use. What say you to that and that development in terms of readying ourselves? I think the 2028 one is already set. I think that might be Bahamas. So what's next for us there?
Well, I anxiously await the continuation of that facility and completion. I've been given a completion time frame of about between 12 and 16 months. So that would put us in a position where we can, host some preliminary activities and see how ready we are for hosting a major activity, hopefully before 2030. That is the ambition we have. We are working on some other things in that area for football and track and field in that Boseju area, but the dynamics continue to be explored. So we are certainly trying our best to complete that facility, and we see a situation where before 2030, the George Odlum Stadium will be in full effect. The Darren Sammy grounds, in terms of the upgrades from since last term, will be in full effect. The National Aquatic Center will be on another level, and of course, we've been doing the strength training gym and the works on the Minder Phillip Park. So we're certainly expecting that we have those dynamics together. By the way, I did announce to all of St. Lucia that Monroe, they've been offering the associate's degree in sports management for young people. In fact, I shouldn't even say for young people, anybody who is interested in sports administration. That associate's degree, of course, as I said, is a full scholarship, and we are hoping that we will have our intake, our call for it before the end of June for a August-September start this year.
Do you think the introduction of skills training will result in brain drain, especially to other Caribbean islands, at TVET certification offered by CXC?
I don't think so. I think we have a number of young people that are skilled but not formally qualified in let's just say TVET education. And so with NELU and some of the programs that we have at the TVET level, we will be producing, and we need, let's just say, the doof of skilled laborers we have in this country. I don't know that we can ever really experience a brain drain. The opportunities are there. Contractors are telling you that they are begging for plumbers, begging for carpenters, masons, begging for electricians. And I go to the blocks and I say to young people, these are opportunities that are available to you. Make an effort to qualify yourself. And so I know that we have other islands like Dominica who have actually taken a number of our skilled individuals over there and other Caribbean territories. But we have an opportunity right now because of that transition to TVET education to really get our numbers up and running as we continue to deal with the infrastructure of this country.
Education, I guess, staying on that. The issue of loitering and lining after school has created numerous other challenges for education, the education system, for the police, and so on. What actually is preventing St. Lucia from solving this problem?
One word, St. Lucia. This is not a education problem. This is not a party problem, UWP, SLP, Ministry of Education, family. It's all of the above. Every single system in this nation have to come together cohesively to decide that we all need to be systematic brothers keepers in this fight against what we see happening on our streets, what we see happening in terms of loitering. When I went to Leones Comprehensive Secondary School, if I was away from school at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, just loitering, not being productive, somebody would have called Mr. Rupert A. Ellis to say Kenson Gazmi is just loitering. Can he be placed in a more meaningful program? And then I would get a call from the principal, and I would have a sit down saying, what were you doing, A, B, and C? And there are other programs that could be recommended apart from sport. It didn't happen very frequently, but I'm just saying, apart from sport, for you to get yourself involved in. But we've developed in our sort of social being this cell phone, tablet culture, where apart from doing or spending time on YouTube and on TikTok and that sort of thing, a lot of our young people are not minded to get involved in the myriad of social entities we have in this country. And that says, again, that something in terms of the family, the encouragement of our young people to be involved in dance, be involved in the arts, be involved in culture and sport. As a government, I think we are never satisfied with the amount of programs that we've laid at the foot of young people, at the feet of young people, but we'll continue to invest in these programs. I can say, me as a Minister of Sport, I've been saying not just facilities, programs. And so for me, we need to always take a deep dive into how we think right now and how we react to the fact that people are loitering. We do have legislation against it, and I think at the end of the day, we need to all come together to ensure that that's not what we want to see. The fact of the matter is, I will say, in addition to that, is as a Minister of Education, we are in conversations about having even more after-school programs that are centered to the Gen Z generation to make it more appealing, to them, to ensure that they are involved in more meaningful activities. But we all need to do our part.
It sounds almost as if we have the tools, but it's one of the enforcement. Should the police be more forceful and proactive? Should the schools and the ministry be policy-driven, putting things in place? And of course, should the government be holding parents accountable in that respect? And well, I know my impressions are not important, but it seemed to me that if the government does its part and the police, the parents have no choice but to do theirs.
It almost sounds like you've accentuated some of what I just said in my answer being St. Lucia, because I totally agree with you that more can be done. at all levels. I'm not sure that we should be gravitating towards legislation that necessarily mandates parents, or I'm not sure what you mean by hold parents accountable, other than moral suasion that we would use to get them to understand that, hey, your child simply can't be about maths and English and going to lessons and then coming on their way home and just loitering. That a well-developed citizen is one that takes his space based on their talents and capabilities and nurtures it to ensure that the next generation could be better off and better off. I will always say that the police can do more. I will always appeal to the police to enforce the laws of this country in a more strategic fashion. And I will say that the Ministry of Education, as I said, we do need to come up with creative ways of engaging the Gen Zs beyond just their tablets and their phones, and whether or not even in the use of the tablets on the phone, that we can get them collectively to use those tablets and phones in a more creative way that makes them more, malleable to development-centered activities on those devices. And so I think the journey to ensure that we have more productive individuals has to start earlier, for sure. And I think once all of these sectors play their part, then we can achieve some of what you want us to achieve. Divorce from wringing up their hand, their shoulders and holding them by the neck, to understand that they need to play their part in making their children more well-rounded. Thank you.
C'est by pet a code system ça fini. Et ça c'est pour toute cette dossier qui n'est un case qui a pour swap. This courthouse was established especially to deal with the backlog of criminal cases in the court system. The court has already started operating and is already yielding results, with over 30 cases being disposed so far.
I am informed that of the 138 or the 1,138 cases pending as at the 31st of March 2026, 587 of them, 51.6%, have been there for over 6 years. By any measure, this is unacceptable and justifies the saying that justice delayed is justice denied. The administrators of justice will have many reasons for this deficiency in our system. This mounting backlog of cases has been a pressing issue for my administration since assuming office in July 2021. This morning, I'm pleased to say that this long-standing issue is now being addressed following my administration's early declared intention and commitment to do so. So I'm very happy that we can sort this thing out. I'm very, very, very pleased. It's been the government's commitment to deal with the justice system. And I can tell you, we've made tremendous investment in citizen security in this country. Tremendous investment. What's happening at Borderley? Doing work at Borderley. tremendous investment. And very soon, we're going to be begin the construction at the former George Charles Secondary School. We're going to be beginning the construction of young men who have issues with the law. Something which will be different from a prison, but we'll have where young men will be able to get some rehabilitation. That's going to be pronounced next month. And as I declare officially open this court, I want to remind you of the insightful words of the civil rights leader, Martin Luther King Jr. And he said, "True peace is not merely the absence of tension, it's the presence of justice." I thank you.